You ever just question reality? Mowing the lawn is just giving the earth a shave.
Oh no. Oh no.
We humans ask a lot of questions. How did we get here? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? What is our purpose in life? Existential crises happen when you feel you don't have an answer to that last question. That you have no meaning, like you are just an insignificant grain of sand on an infinite beach. However, if you create meaning for yourself, the crisis will lift and you will emerge a far better person. But that doesn't mean it'll be easy. Existential crises are pretty tough to deal with. Unfortunately for me, I had one at age 9. I was young and innocent. I had the pure mind of a child. I didn't even know how babies were made. Instead of thinking about all that jazz, I was thinking about the crushing inevitability of death. Fun times. How did I get into all this mess? Well, it all started with the Magic Treehouse book series. Jack and Annie, 2 kids from Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, go on magical adventures in a time-traveling treehouse. Really, it's just an excuse to teach kids history and science. What kid chooses to go see a Shakespeare play? To that aim, each book has a non-fiction counterpart that explains more about the history or science behind the story. I read the non-fiction book about Jack and Annie's visit to the moon landings. I was really into space back then. I wanted to be an astronaut. But this book crushed my dreams. They told me the truth about space, the part they don't tell you when you're a 9-year-old with big dreams. In the non-fiction book, they just casually mention that in the future, the sun will expand into a red giant and consume the Earth. But don't worry, that won't happen for another 5 billion years. Oh, you thought I was going to take the book's advice and not worry about something that won't happen until long after I'm dead? No, sir. I'm going to worry incessantly and become depressed for a month because we're all gonna die and there's nothing I can do about it. So, that happened. I was having existential crises left and right. Every time we drive by a graveyard, existential crisis. Every time someone mentions space, existential crisis. That one episode of Doctor Who where they go to the death of the universe and meet the last humans in existence, existential crisis. I shivered, knowing that after I die, I will eventually be forgotten. All trace of me and what I have done will be gone. Nothing I made or did truly means anything, not to the vast, uncaring universe. Eventually, even the stars will die and be forgotten. The universe will run out of free energy and stop working, like a watch that needs to be wound up again. But there will be no one to wind it up. This is the ultimate fate of all things. In this world, I have no meaning. Thoughts like this pervaded my mind. But after a while, I realized something. The book was right. I shouldn't worry about the sun consuming the earth, because it won't happen until long after I'm dead. We'll probably have found a way off Earth by then. And if I'm forgotten, I won't care. I'll be dead. There's no use crying over spilled milk. Why care about what'll happen after you die if you can't change it in your lifetime? I don't care if someone dabs on my grave. In fact, I'll be glad I didn't see that. But if I can enjoy a good cup of hot chocolate and have others to enjoy it with me, I will have lived a good life. I wanted to be happy and make others happy. This changed my way of thinking. Quite recently, I realized that all the most helpful lessons in my life changed how I looked at things and approached problems. I want to make others happy, and now I realize that this is the way to do it. Meaning isn't absolute. It is something you build yourself. Using the materials, you assemble it in whatever way you want to make it your own. When I was 9, I ended my existential crisis. I created meaning for myself, a goal. Recently, I realized how I would achieve it. If you are bogged down in an existential crisis, you can pull yourself out of it. An existential crisis is a search for meaning. To create your own, think about what's important to you. Do you really admire people who risk their lives to help those in need? Why? Do you also want to help people in need? Why? Asking questions about yourself will help you create meaning for yourself. You need to know what ingredients you have before you make the cake. Everyone can live a life of meaning, even if there is no absolute one. You just need to ask questions. I got an existential crisis from reading Magic Treehouse books. Thoughts about death, the end of the universe, and being forgotten flooded my mind, and I was lost. I had no meaning in this world. But then I thought about what was important to me, looked at what I've learned, and I created my own meaning. I ended my search and my existential crisis. My 9-year-old mind was still innocent, but now I had a purpose. How did I do it? I asked myself questions.
Is that all there is? Is that all there is? If that's all there is, my friends, then let's keep dancing. Let's break out the booze.